Hi, I'm Rizzy DeFabo from Rizzo's Restaurant here in Crabtree, and I'm going to be working today on cooking with you some Italian Christmas Eve dishes. I'm going to be referencing a lot to my cookbook, Cooking with Rizzy. We're going to be talking about bacala, smelts, lupini beans, fried cauliflower, and spaghetti with walnuts, raisins, and breadcrumbs, which is universal on most Italian-American tables on Christmas Eve. The first dish today we're going to talk about for our Christmas Eve is the lupini bean. The lupini bean is a flat bean. They're mostly dried, and you have to soak them. So if you're going to prepare the feast, you need to start early with these. They'll come in the grocery store by the pound, and they're dried. They're a flat bean, and they are covered with the skin. Now you have to soak them for about 2 to 2.5 weeks before Christmas Eve. So if you're going to have these, remember to make sure you start early with these. Now the bean themselves, they've been eaten with since far back as the ancient Romans, and they've been part of the Mediterranean diet for several hundreds of years, thousands of years. So to prepare them, first you have to soak them overnight if you're going to buy them dried. And the next day you drain that water off, and you're going to boil them for about an hour to an hour and a half until they rise to the surface. Drain that water off, you're going to chill them down, and every day from the day that you boil them to Christmas Eve, you have to change the water. Now my grandmother always put a little bit of salt in the last 3 days of soaking in the water. So make sure every day that you change the water, and you're not doing this to soften the bean, you're taking the bitterness out of the bean is what you're doing there by soaking them every day and changing that water. So to prepare the bean after they've been soaked and the bitterness is removed, you're going to put them, drain the water off. You're going to season them with a little bit of salt. You can use as much salt as you want. A lot of black pepper though, that's what makes these really good. And oil. Drizzle them with oil. Now, a lot of people just use salt, pepper, and oil, but my family always put a little bit of red wine vinegar in. Just drizzle it on top like that and mix these around. So on Christmas Eve morning, the best thing to do is make these up so they marinate all day long. Stir them around real good. Even if you want to put them in a quart jar, put the dressing in, shake them up, leave them in that jar all day, and then just dump them out until you are ready to go with your dinner. Now the fun part of these things is the eating them. To eat the small lupini bean, just simply push on the skin, push the bean into your mouth, dispose of the skin. Some people eat the skin and all. I prefer not to. You can add more salt, you can add more pepper, you can add more vinegar, you can add more oil. You can put really whatever seasonings you want on top. But the key to the lupini bean is make sure you start early, about 2 weeks before Christmas. Soak them overnight, drain that water off, put them into some cold water, keep them on your counter, and every day, remember, change that water. Enjoy the lupini beans on Christmas Eve. The lupini beans are available in jars if you don't want to go through all the trouble of soaking. They're available in quart jars, all prepared. All you got to do is drain off the brine that they come in and season them the way you want. We're going to start on our bacala here. Now, everybody says, bacala, oh, I don't like bacala, I don't like bacala, I don't know what to do with it, I'm scared to cook it. Well, when you go to the store, this is another thing if you're going to prepare the Christmas Eve dinner, you need to start a few days early. Bacala is going to come like this, dried, full of salt. It's a cold water fish. It's packed and dried on the boat and packed in salt for preservation purposes. So you're going to get it at the store by the pound in a fillet, and you can also buy it steel with a bone in it, which is a lot more work and a lot more time consuming. So make sure you get the boneless bacala, and you need to soak it for about 3 days, 4 at the most, to remove all of the salt here, changing the water several times a day. In here I have some pieces soaking. Now what you can also do if you're a true bacala connoisseur is after a couple days, you see how the bacala is thick on top and thin as you get further down the fillet. This is going to be done soaking within 2 days possibly, because it's a thinner piece. Up here the bacala is going to be thicker, so it's going to hold a lot more salt. So what you could do after a couple days is cut this off, the thinner part, place it in the refrigerator, and continue to cut the soak the thicker portions. So we're going to take this out of the water, and we are going to begin to cut it up into small pieces, and then we're going to make a batter for it, and we're going to fry it here on the stove. Now I always remove the little tail here, disregard it. Then on this side you'll see sometimes a lot of this white skin types on here. There's not too much on here, so we're going to go ahead and leave it on there. I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to cut this into some pieces, and we can take this off of here, and we can fry this up separately. That way we get some nice uniform thick pieces. Now if you were going to make the bacala salad, which is very common on Italian Christmas Eve tables, this thick pieces right here is what you need for the salad, because you would blanch this and it would flake apart real nice into nice big flakes for your salad. So we're going to cut this up to these pieces, and we're going to place it on paper towels to drain for about a half an hour to get most of that water out before we begin frying. Okay. Now everybody always asks a question, well, why do you cook 7 fish, or why do you cook 13 fish? That's always a big question, the number. How many fish do you have? Do you have 7? Do you have 13? It's all entirely up to you. What type of fish you prefer, what type of fish you like, what is traditional in your family. Now a lot of people eat eel on Christmas Eve, the snake-looking eel that you have to clean, and a lot of people bake it, or they make it with vinegar or fry it on the stove and bread it. My family traditionally prepares bacala several different ways. Fried, which we're going to do, they do it into a salad. We also make it into a stew with mushrooms and cauliflower and tomatoes, celery and onions and green peppers. We fry cauliflower, which we're going to do later on in the segment here. And we're going to also fry some smelts, the small silvery smelt that we need to clean, and we're going to bread and fry those up. So let's make our batter for our bacala. We're going to need 1 egg, about 1½ cups of water. We're going to go ahead and mix that together. And we need about 1½ cups of flour, just all-purpose flour. I'm going to level this off here, just like that. And a lot of people also call the restaurant and they ask so many questions about how to cook the big dinner. And they remember their grandmother cooking it, they remember their aunts cooking it, they remember everybody coming early on Christmas Eve and start to fry everything on the stove. And we're going to put a little bit of baking powder in here as well, about 1/4 teaspoon. Put that right in there. We're going to begin to incorporate the flour. Make a nice batter here. We also need to add some oil too. I should have added that with the eggs and the water, but that will be no problem. We're going to add about 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil or olive oil, either one are fine. Okay, then we're going to add in the rest of our flour. And also, on Christmas Eve, you know, if you get a team of people together to help you fry up everything, the main thing is to get everything prepared in advance. Start soaking your bacala, make sure your lupini beans are soaking. You can blanch your cauliflower, which we're going to talk about later on in the segment here. You can blanch your cauliflower the day before and have it in the refrigerator. Now we're just going to season this batter here with some salt and some pepper. Don't go too crazy on the salt because the bacala, remember, has salt in it. Okay, now once the oil is hot, We're going to go ahead and place the bacala in a few pieces at a time because we do not want the oil to cool off too much, and that'll make the fish soggy. Now remember, the thinner pieces are going to cook faster than the thicker pieces of bacala. So they need to cook maybe about 5 minutes on each side, the thicker pieces. The thinner pieces, maybe a few minutes less on both sides. Just gently move them around. Turn the oil down to about medium to medium high. And then make sure you have something that you're ready to go ahead and put the fried fish on. Now, a lot of people say, well, why 13 fish? Why 7 fish? What I understand is it all relates back to religious and pagan rituals. They say that the 7 fish is to represent the 7 sacraments, and the 13 is to represent the 12 apostles and Jesus. So there's really no set number on how many fish that you cook. The main thing is, like I keep saying throughout, is to start early, be prepared, get a group of people together to fry and work with you. Get yourself some wine, your favorite cocktail, and keep frying and cooking. Have fun with it. We'll go ahead and turn this over and see there, starting to brown up again on the other side. Try to clean out all of these little things there. It'll keep your grease a lot nicer throughout. Now everybody says, well, can I fry my cauliflower in the same grease as I do the bacala in? Is it going to taste fishy? The whole dinner's fishy. It's a fishy situation. But I suggest you fry the cauliflower first, and then your bacala, and then your smelts, or your smelts and then your bacala. If you're frying for several people, you may have to change your oil in between because the oil will deteriorate from frying and the moisture coming out of the fish and the cauliflower. Okay, I think the one thinner piece here might be about done. Just another couple seconds. Okay, I think we're ready to take these out. Put them on paper towels to drain. And like I said, you can always put them in the oven covered loosely with foil and keep them warm until you are ready to serve. Let me cut one of these open and see what it looks like here. Perfect. Perfect bacala. Good. All right, now we're going to go ahead and fill up the skillet again. Frying it all up. Try to get off that excess batter as you're putting it in there. We can fry an extra piece this time. The batter will coat about 1.5 pounds of bacala. So, and that is pre-soaking weight, 1.5 pounds. So if you go to your local Italian market and you are going to purchase the bacala, the batter here will coat about 1.5 pounds. So that is how to fry your bacala for Christmas Eve.